Supreme Court wades back into its controversial January judgment that sacked Imo Governor Emeka Ihedioha. Calls are getting louder for APC National Chairman Adams Oshiomhole to step down. On the international front, death toll in UK floods rises to 3. And in sport, Rangers petition league management company over referees' alleged bias.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Supreme Court has adjourned till March hearing of the application filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and Emeka Ihedioha for a review of its earlier decision on the Imo State governorship election. The Supreme Court was to take a second look at its January judgments that sent shivers into the camp of the PDP as it nullified the election of PDP candidate Emeka Ihedioha as the rightfully elected governor of Imo State. Hope Uzodinma of the All Progressives Congress APC was declared winner instead. Ihedioha and PDP wants the highest court to reverse its January judgment and return Ihedioha to the governor's office. When the case was called on Tuesday morning, Ihedioha's lead lawyer, Kanu Agabi, requested time for all parties to be able to file required papers. There were no objections from other lawyers. Chief Justice Ibrahim Mohammed granted the request and adjourned the hearing to early March. It appears the national chairman of the All People's Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, is facing domestic opposition in his party. Calls are coming from various quarters for his resignation or removal. The latest is from APC young stakeholders which protest against the national chairman at the party secretariat on Monday. The group's convener, Ahmed Adamu, said in a statement that, quote, "Enough is enough. We are tired of the lackadaisical and weak leadership this man has given. He must go," end quote. The group listed Oshiomhole's sins as follows: micromanaging the party, weakening other organs of the party, zero accountability, inability to manage internal crisis, loss of states and elections, and more. Meanwhile, Oshiomhole has refused to respond to allegations against him by the group in its call for his resignation. The embattled national chairman said in a television interview on Monday he will not respond to what he called a non-existent group. Coronavirus prevention was the topic of an emergency meeting of Ministers of Health of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in Bamako, Mali last Friday. Nigeria's Junior Minister for Health, Dr. Olorunniyi Mamura, released a communique in Abuja on Monday, issued by the ECOWAS ministers after the Bamako meeting. It said the ministers agreed to strengthen coordination, communication, and collaboration in preparation for the COVID-19 epidemic. These steps are to include cross-border collaboration. Olorunniyi said there would be surveillance for the virus at air, land, and sea entry points. He also said the member states agreed to step up communication with the public to create accurate and timely information about the epidemic. He said all this would help in a regional preparedness plan that would set out priorities governments, partners, and the private sector could support. Director General of the West African Health Organization, Dr. Stanley Okoli, said at the briefing, lots of money, like $50 million, would be needed for regional preparation against the virus. Okolo also said this amount would be needed for critical personal protection, laboratory supplies, and others. It would also fund communication and coordination across borders. The Nigerian Senate is wading into the issue of insurance health in the country and is considering mandatory insurance scheme for all citizens. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe, said this at a public hearing on Monday in Abuja that sought inputs into two bills relating to health insurance. Senator Oloriegbe said the current national health insurance scheme only provides for optional health insurance in the country. It said a 35% poverty rate in the country means more than 60 million Nigerians are living below the poverty line. The senator said that although that group of Nigerians would be unable to afford insurance premiums, they should not be allowed to suffer for health care services. The Students' Union President of the Federal Polytechnic, Ilaro, Ogun State, Adegboye Olatunji, who was arrested last week for alleged involvement in cultism, has been granted bail on Monday. Olatunji's arrest was said to have taken place inside a bush where new intakes were being initiated. This prompted the Southwest Zone of the National Association of Nigerian Students to threaten a statewide protest if police did not charge Olatunji to court. He was docked on Monday on a 3-count charge and granted a 200,000 naira bail. The case has been adjourned to late February. The legislative process that would lead to the passing into law of the Ondo State Security Bill began today as the Ondo State House of Assembly resumes. Assembly's Director of Information Services, Shende Falokun, said in a statement on Monday, Assembly Speaker Bamidele Oloyelong had requested all lawmakers to end their recess to enable them complete the legislative assignment. There are reports passage of the bill would be accelerated so it could reach Governor Rotimi Akeredolu's desk for assent. Meanwhile, Ogun State residents have been encouraged by the Alake and paramount leader of Egbaland, Oba Adedoto Gbadebo, to support the Amotekun regional security outfit. He made the call from his palace in Abeokuta during this year's Lishabi festival. He decried the runaway rate of insecurity and said Operation Amotekun would help in reducing criminal activities in the country. Coming up, African stories. Massacre in a Burkina Faso church as gunmen unleashed killing 24. And later, international news. Death toll in UK floods rises to 3. Welcome back. This is ANN News. On the African scene, security sources in Burkina Faso said on Monday gunmen have killed 24 persons, including a pastor, in an attack on a church in the northwestern part of the country during Sunday Mass. The timing of the shooting mirrors other attacks on Christians in the past year, including church attacks and assassinations of pastors and priests following ethnic and regional conflict. It was not immediately clear who was responsible for the attack. Hundreds have died over the past year and more than 500,000 persons have left their homes. During a meeting in Brussels on Tuesday, European foreign ministers agreed on a new naval and air mission to stop more arms from reaching warring factions in Libya. The EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, said at a news conference that a sea and air mission would have a robust mandate to react and interfere in the movement of ships they suspect of arms trafficking. World powers and regional actors overseeing Libya peace truce have warned against the deteriorating situation in the North African country caused by foreign interference in Libya and violations of armed truce. Oil dealers in East Africa say they now prefer Dar es Salaam to Mombasa port when they compare the cost of operating through the two ports. For a long time, Mombasa has been the preferred route for Uganda, Rwanda, Congo and South Sudan. But Tanzania is said to have opted again by increasing efficiencies at the port. Michael Baleke has the story.
Oil dealers from Uganda are increasingly using Tanzania's Dar es Salaam harbour to load their fuel products. They say the terminal is efficient, reliable and gets the products delivered on time.
Oil marketing companies, even with all the trucks, they can be able to go and load products in Dar es Salaam since Tanzania government have not put so much restrictions on the loading. Also, you may find that Dar es Salaam trucks are allowed to load up to a maximum of the axle of 45,000 liters per truck. But Kenyan government cannot allow a truck to carry more than 40,000.
According to Ugandan oil marketers, the Kenyan route has been awash with allegations of tariff and non-tariff barriers. These range from bribery, fuel adulteration, smuggling, and restrictions on trucks over tonnage.
We have a more competitive advantage when it comes to costing of fuel from Kenya route versus Tanzania. But sometimes you have to consider the difference and weigh it against sustainability of supply, because a little more costed fuel could be a better option to no fuel at all.
The barriers to trade, according to Kenya's Economic Survey 2019, led to a decline in the volume of petroleum exports from more than 844 tons in 2017 to 740 tons in 2018. Given the distance from Dar es Salaam to Kampala, it's still more expensive to deliver a liter of petrol, diesel or kerosene compared to Mombasa. And Kenya is using that advantage to reclaim the petroleum export market by attracting oil marketing companies in Uganda using lower tariffs. In October 2019, Nairobi cut its oil pipeline tariffs by 50%. The move has doubled petroleum export volumes destined to neighboring landlocked countries like Uganda.
They need to embrace private sector attitude. They need to ensure that customers are the king. I mean, they need to ensure at every time we want to load products, they are available, products are available, staff are available to work, and then also the Kenyan government needs to put measures that are favorable. They should discuss with transporters.
However, for security reasons, some Ugandan oil dealers still prefer to deliver products from both routes following a series of deadly attacks on Kenya by Somali militant group Al-Shabaab.
In order to maintain security of supply, we are not able to put all our eggs in one basket, if I'm to use that adage. So what is happening today is that we have to keep an option open in Tanzania to have fuel coming to the country. So some oil marketers like Total Uganda have opted to take this position to bring fuel in through Tanzania to be able to ensure that there's a constant supply of fuel.
Figures from Uganda's Energy Ministry show that by September 2019, Uganda had imported 85 million liters of fuel. 90% of the petroleum products came through Kenya's port of Mombasa, while 10% arrived via Dar es Salaam port. And that figure is expected to rise as Tanzania increases efficiencies at the harbour.
Equatorial Guinea is facing off against France at the International Criminal Court in The Hague over a diplomatic row. The country has accused France of illegally seizing a mansion it had acquired in Paris and is using as its embassy. France says it seized the building as part of a money laundering investigation of the son of the president of Equatorial Guinea. The case will determine the diplomatic status of the multi-million euros mansion in a prestigious Paris neighborhood. The building was seized in 2012 while France investigated Theodore Obiang Mong for money laundering and misuse of government funds. Obiang was convicted in France in 2017, and an appeals court held the conviction with a 3-year suspended sentence for embezzling millions of dollars in public money. He was fined 30 million euros. The court also ordered the Paris mansion confiscated, but authorities have to wait for the outcome of the case at the World Court. Lawyers representing France will argue their case today at the International Court. A ruling may not come for months. When we return, international news. Death toll in UK floods rises to 3. And later, sports. Rangers petition league management company over referees' alleged bias. Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to international stories. As UK residents dig out of the storm Dennis damage, Britain's Environment Agency is warning of life-threatening situations surrounding the storm that has claimed 3 lives and is rummaging through Europe. Dennis gale force winds have left 9 persons injured in Germany when their vehicles crashed into broken trees, littering roads and train tracks. Northern Europe was also experiencing flooding and power outages. Nearly 500 record-breaking flood warnings and alerts were issued across England on Monday. Forecasters side rivers in parts of northern England are almost at their peak levels. Authorities in York were piling up more than 4,000 sandbags as river ooze continued to rise. Residents in Wales and Western England were cleaning up on Monday after the storm flooded roads, railways, homes and businesses and disrupted travel across Britain. Some told stories of fleeing for their lives. Doctors in Shanghai have started using infusions of blood plasma from people who have recovered from the coronavirus to treat those still battling the infection. A top emergency expert at the World Health Organization says using convalescent plasma is a very valid approach to testing.
A promising treatment for a deadly disease which doctors still have no cure for. China National Biotech Group announced that plasma from recovered coronavirus patients was used to treat about a dozen critically ill people in Wuhan, and the results were impressive.
输血前、输血后，很快反应最快的指标就是。
The vital signs of patients respond quickly. Their blood oxygen saturation levels and lymphocytes rise and their symptoms start to lessen. None of our current cases has deteriorated after treatment.
Dr. Liu Bende is one of the first in the country to call for plasma treatment.
In 2003, we had successful experience treating SARS patients with blood plasma from recovered patients.
It works because patients recovered from the illness produce antibodies that can kill the virus. So far, most donors have been recovered medical workers like Dr. Zong Jian.
知道这个献血对我们身体。
We know that donating blood won't affect your health that much, but ordinary people may not have the medical knowledge, especially people who have just recovered. They're quite scared to donate blood.
Dr. Zong Jian was the first recovered novel coronavirus patient to donate his plasma. He fell ill in December without knowing exactly how.
我的这个当时的情况是非常严重的。
My condition was quite serious. I had a high fever and couldn't breathe while I was lying down. I had a narrow escape from death. I experienced it all. So if I can stop other people from having the same experience, I'd want to help.
But authorities say blood plasma is no magic bullet. Dr. Liu Bende says the treatment is simply the best now available in the absence of a vaccine or targeted drugs.
If I inject something and the patient starts bouncing around after the second day, then that's a time for optimism. Plasma treatment is only a way out of an impossible situation. As long as the patient doesn't get worse, it's a victory.
Still, it's a sign of hope for a city in an unprecedented crisis.
Still in China, death toll from the novel coronavirus has reached more than 1,000. As nearly half of China's more than 1 billion strong population remains subject to varying forms of travel restrictions and other quarantine measures. Local government authorities also confirmed director of the Wuhan hospital in Wuhan, Liu Zhimin, has died in the process. Liu was a neurosurgeon and is the first hospital director to die as a result of the coronavirus epidemic. Analysts say his death is an indication that China's government is not doing enough to protect frontline medical workers, many of whom are overworked and overstretched. State media have also confirmed doctors and nurses who die while trying to contain the outbreak will officially be designated as martyrs. China's National Health Commission has confirmed since the outbreak began in December, more than 12,500 patients have recovered and been discharged from hospital. U.S. federal judges have scheduled an emergency meeting to look into President Donald Trump's recent attacks on individual judges after Justice Department officials intervened in the case involving a Trump close confidant. President of the Federal Judges Association, District Judge Cynthia Roof, says the judges are concerned about the future of U.S. justice system. The Justice Department stunned the political and legal community last week when it overruled its own prosecutors and recommended a lighter prison sentence for Roger Stone, who is Trump's longest-time friend and confidant. Stone was convicted in lying to Congress, witness tampering, and obstruction of justice stemming from the Russian election meddling probe. Prosecutors in the case had recommended 7 to 9 years prison time for Stone, based on sentencing guidelines for such crimes. But the Justice Department recommended a lighter sentence. Stone is to be sentenced Thursday, when it would be up to Judge Ahmed Berman Jackson to decide for how long Stone will be locked up. Up next, sports. Rangers petition league management company over referees' alleged bias. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. Rangers Football Club management have appealed to the league management company against the decisions of referee Jacob Guatsu's handling of match day 20 MPFL fixture with Aqua United in Enugu. Rangers say the referee intentionally ignored 2 clear penalty calls, which cost them the victory. Rangers wondered if it was a coincidence that the same referee, whose decision was reversed by the LMC barely a year ago, could be found culpable again. The Flying Antelopes are appealing to LMC for justice. Manchester City's manager Pep Guardiola says he remains committed to the club despite the present predicament. Guardiola says even if the Premier League champions are relegated, he will still remain as their manager. UEFA handed Manchester City a 2-year suspension from European competition for breaching financial fair play rule. The club are appealing the ruling at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Guardiola's deal expires at the end of 2020-2021 season. It says the deal would not be cut short. That is the end of news this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.